Hi, I'm Larry Magid, CEO of ConnectSafely.org, and here's a presentation on online safety for adults. Let's start with some basic safety and privacy tips. Remember to use strong, unique, and long passwords, use the privacy settings on whatever services and apps you're using, and think before you post and before you click. And if you do see some abuse, report it to the service. There are some common scams to look out for. The personal emergency scam is when you get an email or other type of message from a friend or relative who's in trouble. Maybe they were arrested or in the hospital, but is it really them? If not, it's a scam. And there's the you owe money scam where you get a note from a bill collector, but you may not actually owe them anything. As I'll talk about later, there are plenty of online dating scams, as well as scams that appear to come from the IRS, Medicare, or Social Security. And finally, the infected computer scam. If you get a message from Microsoft or any other company saying that your computer is infected, it's almost certainly a scam. Microsoft never issues such notifications, and neither do most other companies. There are a lot of scams around shopping and banking. Beware of phishing, and don't click on links in email unless you're sure they're legitimate. Be wary of any offer that's too good to be true. Only shop at reputable sites. And make sure that your websites are secure. Look for that HTTPS in the browser bar. The S stands for secure. When paying, use a credit card if possible. Otherwise, a debit card or a reputable online payment service like Google Pay or Apple Pay. And check your credit card and bank statements frequently to look for fraud and errors. And of course, always read the fine print, including return policies and restocking fees. There's a lot of misinformation about health and wellness online. First of all, be careful when Googling symptoms. That cough could be lung cancer, but it's probably the common cold. Only use approved apps or browsers for online medical appointments. Be sure you're connecting with your health provider and not a scammer. Rely on reputable health sites and be wary of those you haven't heard of or aren't affiliated with a reputable medical facility. And check with a doctor before following any advice you get on the web. Be careful about any online messages that appear to come from the Internal Revenue Service, Medicare, or Social Security. You might get a message encouraging you to log into their online portal, but they'll never ask you to supply information in response to an email. If you're preparing your own taxes, make sure you're using legitimate sites or software. You can find out more at irs.gov. Be suspicious of anyone posing as a doctor, healthcare provider, or insurance company that asks for your Medicare or Social Security number or who claims to represent these agencies. You may sometimes have to provide that information, but be absolutely certain you're doing so only when it's safe, appropriate, and required. In some ways, your smartphone is even more powerful than your computer. It, for example, knows your location, has a camera and a microphone, and has access to your contact information. Only download reputable apps from the official app stores, such as the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Make sure you're downloading the app from the right provider, and take a look at the online reviews. Be careful about the permissions you give to apps, and know how to turn off location. Passwords are the key to your entire online kingdom, so make them unique, long, and strong. Consider a phrase like, "I met Sally Smith at Lincoln High School in 1979." And produce a password that uses the first letter of each word with proper nouns capitalized. Add a symbol and a couple of numbers. IMSSALHS#79 may not mean anything to a hacker, but it will to you. But don't use that same password over and over again. Add a couple of unique letters for each service you use so that all your passwords are unique. It's a good idea to use two-factor authentication so that you have to have a code sent to your smartphone if you log on from a new location. Password managers like LastPass and RoboForm allow you to have very complex passwords because you only have to remember the password to the password manager. And when possible, use biometrics like fingerprints or facial recognition. The front door to your home internet is either a modem plus a router or a gateway from your service provider that combines both of those functions. In any case, there will be a username and password to configure those devices, so make sure that the password is unique and secure. Don't necessarily stick with the default password. If you have Internet of Things devices like a smart doorbell, cameras, or other devices connected to the Internet, even a home streaming service, make sure you're buying it from a reputable manufacturer and you keep its software up to date. and apply security updates for all of your other devices, including your PC, smartphone, router, and any other connected devices. Online toxicity is a real and growing problem. We all have a role to play. Spirited debate is fine, but demeaning comments aren't, and hate speech is never acceptable. And if you do encounter nasty comments, don't let the trolls win. Sometimes it's better not to respond. Online dating is very popular among adults, including seniors. And there are plenty of happy couples who met their partner online. If you do date online, make sure that you have your first meeting in a public place. And be suspicious if the person seems to be a lot younger or if their picture is too good to be true. It probably is. Be careful if they say they're from the U.S. but traveling or living overseas, and avoid communicating outside the dating site. And whatever you do, never send money. Misinformation is becoming a real threat online. The term fake news is not supposed to apply to news sources that you don't agree with, but any information that's deliberately meant to be wholly or largely false or misleading. Always consider the source and other stories coming from that source. Do they ring true? Does it look legitimate? Does something that's supposed to be a news story seem one-sided or biased towards a particular point of view? That may be okay if it's an editorial comment, but not if it's supposed to be news. If something seems fishy, check other sources to see if it's been collaborated or disputed. And it's never okay to spread fake news. That ruins your reputation and spreads a lie. But it is okay to comment on links to fake news with your own correction. Finally, if something doesn't feel right, go with your instincts. Don't be ashamed to ask for help, but make sure it's from someone you trust. And don't be too embarrassed if you make a mistake. It happens to the best of us. Of course, there are risks online, but there are risks in everything we do. You have to weigh the risks versus the benefits. And for me, the benefits are fantastic. Thanks for watching, and do visit us at ConnectSafely.org, where you'll find guides to many of the topics that we've talked about in this presentation. Bye now.